Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon, and welcome to this educational presentation of a strategy I've been trading actually for over 40 years now. I'd like to start out by sharing this chart with you. This is a current chart of ROG going back to March, April, and coming into May. Now let me share with you how most traders trade, especially in a situation like this. One of the most common and popular ways to trade is off support and resistance. When you break some type of resistance, usually that means the stock, the future, the currency pair is going to go up. And so it's more of a breakout type of method, and this usually calls for you to be buying at the high of the breakout or selling at the low of the breakdown. For example, if someone were looking at this and they were a student of a breakout type of a strategy, they would say, well, there's resistance right here. And that class I took said that once we break out of resistance or close above, then that's where we have to buy. So we look here, and obviously on the next bar we closed above. Now this would mean that you would buy on that breakout, and this means that you would be paying at the very high of that little range we've had for the last month. A lot of students don't like to purchase that way. They like to buy at lower prices, or they feel uncomfortable. They feel many times they'll buy, and the minute they buy, it goes straight down. Well, here's what I'm going to be sharing with you today, a strategy that I've been trading for over 40 years, oftentimes, not guaranteed, but oftentimes is able to generate signals at the very bottom of these little sell-offs within the range. And if you miss that, sometimes there's another setup generated the next bar over. And then even though nothing happened for the next couple of weeks, you had another sell-off here where another signal was generated. So therefore, you didn't have to actually buy at the high here. You could have purchased somewhere along the lower levels prior to this nice 50-point gain in the next 2 months. Now, even if you had missed those first 3 setups, the strategy I'm going to be talking about today actually generated a signal 1 day before that big gap opening. So this promises to be a great presentation. My name is Stephen Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading, and this was one of the first strategies I was introduced to when I first started trading on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. Now, I've been trading for a total of 42 years. I started my career on the floor of the stock exchange. I was on the floor for 16 years, and 9 of those years I was a specialist. That's where we get the name Specialist Trading. A specialist doesn't mean you're any more special than anyone else. It just simply means you specialized in making markets. So if someone wanted to buy or sell a stock that you specialized in making a market, the broker had to come up to you and purchase or sell that stock to you. So I was a specialist during the crash of '87 and the bull market that followed. So I've traded and seen just about everything you can imagine. So why would you want to waste your time, and most especially your hard-earned money, searching for that holy grail, that perfect system, that perfect method, when you can shorten your learning curve and become a student of mine, and I can show you what has stood the test of time in terms of consistency. Now, we don't promise to have a method that will have you retire in the 6 months once you start becoming a student of mine. In fact, we don't believe in that. All we do is provide our members around the world in over 115 countries and in every state in the United States just sound fundamental education so that you can be in charge of your own trading for the very first time. And we make it extremely simple. So it doesn't matter if you've been trading for 40 years or 40 minutes. Everyone gets the same basic format, and then we work out from there to meet your needs. So I'm going to share with you a very simple process for trading this particular strategy. But before we begin, as always, we are first required by law to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using and trading strategy number 4. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And also please remember that all these examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Also, I'd like to take this time to invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. There's a lot of great free information. You really owe it to yourself to come to our Twitter page on a daily basis. I'll post anything from signals that many of our strategies have generated to little bits of financial wisdom I've accumulated along the way. So that's a lot of great free information. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated in the opening statements, we are a little bit different from other webinars you may have attended in the fact that we are strictly an educational company. We don't promise, as I said, to have some system that's going to have you buy your next new house in the next year. We don't believe in that. In fact, if anyone tells you that, I would really strongly suggest that you take a second opinion and look somewhere else, because I've been trading for over 4 decades now. If there's one thing I've learned, is that there are no guarantees, but you have to reach for something that will give you some type of sense of longevity, something that will sustain you. And in my 42 years, the only thing I found is education, because education puts you in the driver's seat. It enables you to make your own decisions. Now think of it. How do you make your own decisions on a daily basis? Most traders, myself included when I first started out some 4 decades ago, rely on someone or something else to tell them. That's because they don't feel they have enough experience, enough fortitude to actually make their own decisions, and they don't have enough education. Well, that's where we come in. At Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies, we devised courses as well as a platform to make it simple for you to trade, so that you, for the very first time, will be able to be in charge of your own trading destiny. So this is my goal, not to force feed you signals, not to tell you what to buy or sell on a nightly basis. We don't believe in that. We only want to teach you how to trade with a specialist edge. It's the same edge that was taught to me. It sustained me for 42 years, and hopefully it will do the same for you. Okay, now we have a pretty good crowd here today, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, but please wait till the end of class. I promise I'll get to each and every one of them. The only question I will answer is the most common and popular one, and that is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you have to leave early, don't worry. We will provide each and every one of you with a link to this recording, okay? So once again, if you have a question, please wait till the end, and we'll promise to answer each and every one of them. All right, so the strategy I'm going to be talking about today, you've heard me speak about it in past reference, is strategy number 4. This is my favorite strategy. I have been trading it in some capacity for the last 4 decades. And let me share with you some of the highlights. It's designed for traders looking to catch momentum. Now don't worry, when we say momentum, this doesn't mean like a really crazy fast market. It can be, but it can be a slow market, kind of a sideways market. It can be a straight up or straight down market. It really makes no difference because this is a pattern recognition strategy. So it's basically looking for a pattern which defines oftentimes the setup prior to some nice momentum entering, all right? Now, it only uses one indicator. That's the 50-period simple moving average, and we'll share with you a different way in which to view it. But this is probably our most consistent strategy today. It can be applied to any market, any time frame. Now, we'll mainly focus on stocks, but I'll share with you some other examples in other markets. And as I said, you can trade it intraday, long term, it makes absolutely no difference, okay? This is why it's one of our most consistent and most popular strategies to date. Okay, so let's begin today's presentation, and we're going to take it step by step. I'm going to show you the process of how easy and how simple it is, because we designed it this way for you to trade strategy number 4 on our new platform. This is the PTS Primo Charting Platform. I designed this with Pro Trader Strategies, and this is the educational platform that actually teaches you how to trade. We've made it extremely simple, once again, so that you can make your own decisions. You won't have to rely on anyone or anything else, and you can simply decide for yourself whether you want to buy or sell. Okay, here's the process. Step 1, choose the market you're interested in buying. Now, obviously, this seems kind of redundant. Obviously, you're going to choose the market, but the reason I say this is because on our platform, we offer you such a wide range of different markets to trade, anywhere from stocks to Bitcoin, to currency pairs, to future trading, intraday trading, long-term trading. We have data for the DAX exchange, for the Toronto Stock Exchange, for the Japanese markets, even for the Indian markets. We have intraday data, we have Bitcoin intraday data. So that's why I say choose the market, because there are so many markets you can apply strategy number 4 to. So once you load up the chart you're interested in, then we go on to step number 2. As you can see here, we have basically a very quiet chart here, meaning by quiet, there's no indicators, there's nothing on here. We just want to leave it very simple. And then we go on to step number 2, which means we click on the buy-sell line. This is probably our most powerful feature we have on the platform. Click that on in the upper green strategy tab. All right, so as you look here, it's in the top left. It says buy-sell line. Once you click that on, you're going to get a drop-down menu, and these are the different ways to view the buy-sell line, because the buy-sell line is that one indicator we're using, which is simply the 50-period moving average. But we have a number of ways in which to profile it. Let's choose the fluid. This is what we're going to be using in this step-by-step process. So what exactly is the fluid buy-sell line? Well, here's what happens when you click on the fluid. Now you see we're looking at the same chart, but now we have the blue zone, which is the buy zone above the 50-period moving average, and the orange-red sell zone. All this means is that if your price, whatever you're trading, whatever time frame, is in the buy zone, the blue background, you should only be looking for buy signals. It doesn't matter what strategy you're trading, but you'll have a higher level of consistency. In other words, if you had tried to sell NTAP anywhere here, you really wouldn't have made any money. Sure, it went down a couple of days, but then it bounced back up, went down another week, bounced back up, and then ultimately made higher highs. Don't you think the odds are in your favor if you're only looking for buy setups, okay? So this is the first thing you want to do. You want to click on the buy sell line. Let's go on to the next step, step number 3. Now we're only going to trade signals that have a steep upward sloping buy sell line. So what does that mean? Well, as we look here, we see the buy sell line was kind of flat to kind of going sideways. It's at this point, it starts to heavily gear upwards. It has a nice upward slope, okay? This means there is momentum. Picture a river, okay? The river can look many different ways. The river can be flat. In other words, it can look like a pond if there's not a lot of movement. It can be kind of nice and flowing with a nice stream or current behind it, or it can be a nice rapid type of movement, a lot of momentum and a lot of current behind it. This is what we mean when we're looking for a nice upward slope. This means that there's a strong current to the upside. So ultimately, you only want to take the signals that are generated in this area. That's like jumping into the river on a raft or a boat, and you have a strong current behind you. Now we go on to the final step, which is step 4. Click on strategy number 4. That's the strategy we're talking about in the upper green strategy tab. Now remember, in the course, we teach you what the strategy is based on. We don't want to just have you blindly take a signal without knowing what it's based off. So you're going to know what to look for. But while you're learning, you would simply click on strategy number 4. And let's say in this small area right here where you have a nice upward slope, you thought that there was a couple of buy signals, maybe one or so buy signals. You would check your work, click on strategy 4, click on signal arrow, and as you can see, there was one generated right here. So you were right in terms of one being generated. So this is how you check your work. And roughly in a couple of weeks later, look how the stock took off. So do you see how simple it is to trade with this 4-step process? Now you can do this going long. You can also use it to go short. Let's say you are someone who likes to buy puts, okay? Well, someone would say, well, Steve, there was a sell signal generated way back here, okay? How come we didn't take that one? Well, remember, if we're looking for buy setups with a strong upward slope, then conventional wisdom would tell us that we're only going to sell if there's a strong downward slope. But which direction is the slope going? It's going sideways to upward a little bit. So this means you would not have taken this trade. So you would have saved yourself a losing trade because obviously this never went down. So this is the beauty of the fluid buy-sell line. It will oftentimes pinpoint these high probability setups, and as well, the other advantage is many times it will keep you out of some losing trades. All right, so let's look at sells now. What about some valid sell signals? All right, so we want to obviously choose the market we're interested in. We're looking at this old chart now of DKS. Now, in hindsight, sure, this was something you would want to sell, but why, do we have to look at it in hindsight? What if we had noticed this right here before it had this large gap down? Well, let's go to step number 2. Click on the buy-sell line in the upper green strategy tab. Okay, click on the buy-sell line. The menu appears, click on fluid, and guess what? We were in the sell zone this entire time. So it wasn't as if we had to wait to sell once it got down here. The market was already telling us this should not be looked upon as something to buy. It should be looked upon as something to sell. In fact, price never consecutively closed in the buy zone in this older chart. All right, now we go to step 3. We're only going to trade the signals that have a steep downward sloping buy-sell line. So this is, equivalent to a real strong current in a river that you're traversing down. You want to make sure that you have a lot of momentum to the downside. And you can see this is a very strong downward slope. So just about anywhere we can take signals here because we have that momentum behind us. We click on strategy number 4. Now we think that there are a bunch of signals here. In fact, we see a lot of opportunity, but we want to check our work because remember, we're taking the course, we're looking at the online course, and we've learned how to identify a signal on our own. But how can we make sure that we're doing it properly. You can't call me up every day. I have millions of students around the world, and each one of them can't call me up and say, Steve, is this a valid signal? Can you just check this chart for me? I wouldn't have enough time to trade myself. So that's why we devised the platform. All you have to do is click on strategy number 4 in the drop-down menu, click on signal arrows, and you were right. There were a number of signals you could have taken advantage of. So this is how simple the process is. Now, obviously, these were older charts for educational purposes. Let's look at some more recent examples, anywhere from a couple of weeks to just a couple of days ago, okay? All right, here's one in MAN. Okay, this was in April coming into May. It looks like the stock was heading upward. How could we have taken advantage of this? We apply the buy-sell line, and we see that this entire time we've had a strong upward slope. Even though we closed below for 3 days, we went right back up. And so we wouldn't have taken any sell signals here anyway because we had a strong upward slope. So we click on strategy 4. We think we see a signal, and obviously there were 2. There was one right here and one right here. Had you taken the very first one, in just about 3 weeks, that's 15 points to the upside coming into May. Now, CTL has obviously, in hindsight, been going lower. How could we have taken advantage of this? Coming into the beginning of the year, all the way into mid-May, just about a couple of weeks ago, the stock has been going straight down. Could we have taken advantage with strategy number 4? Well, we apply the buy-sell line, and we see that this has been in a strong downward slope since December. So we've had selling opportunities for a long time. We apply strategy number 4, and look at all the sell opportunities. Had you taken this very first one, that's 9, almost 10 points coming into the end of May. How about PSA? Okay. Now, this looks as if it were going up, but then it had a strong sell-off, and then it started to go higher. What could the fluid buy-sell line tell us? Well, once we apply it, even though we had a sell-off, what was the fluid buy-sell line telling us? It was telling us that there's strong upward momentum. So this should not be looked upon as something to get out of the market. This is actually a buying opportunity all along the entire way from April, May, coming into June. Once you apply the strategy, you see that on that sell-off, look at the buying opportunity you had down here. Had you taken advantage of it, potentially you could capture 25 points coming into this last week in PSA. Now remember, how you want to enter is up to you. Remember, we are an educational company. This is not some website where you come to find out where exactly to buy, where exactly to sell. In the courses, we give you upwards of 6 or 7 different entry points, 6 or 7 different exit points, and 6 or 7 different stop placement points. It's up to you to decide which ones you want to apply. It's almost like a buffet line where all the meals and all the different appetizers and drinks and entrees are all delicious, but you have to decide which one you want to choose. You can't obviously eat all of them. So it's the same way with trading. All of these are meant to fit your persona. If you're a more aggressive trader, well, then you may want to stay in and try to capture more than 25 points. We show you how to do that. If you're a conservative trader, you may want to get out with a couple of point profit, say thank you, and I'll move on to the next one. It's entirely up to you. As I stated in the beginning, the only way one becomes a consistent trader is by you making your own trading decisions. That's not our job. That's your job. Our job is simply to provide you with sound fundamental techniques that have stood the test of time. Okay, how about NTNX? As we can see here, we were kind of moving up and then went much lower. Should we have bought here and then sold as it went down? Well, let's apply the buy-sell line, see if it told us what to do. Well, this entire time we were going higher, the buy-sell line was headed much lower. So there were no buying opportunities here because you were in the fluid sell zone. And even though you went into the buy zone right here for a good week or two, excuse me, look at the fluid buy sell. It was going lower. So it was telling you that, sure, you could have bought anywhere around here, but you would have had to been very quick because the market really wants to go lower. And look what ultimately happened. So there were some strategy 4 sell signals here. In fact, this one right here towards the high. And even though it was initiated in the buy zone, it closed just a few ticks below. So it's still a valid sell signal. So this is the one that had the higher level of consistency, and coming into the end of May, 15 points to the downside. How about LDOS? Okay, we originally were heading much lower, and then all of a sudden we headed straight up coming into the end of May into June. Now this is what we mean by consistency. Consistency doesn't mean that every trade is going to be a winner. Consistency means that you will have losses from time to time. That's perfectly okay. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you should never lose. I lose all the time. There's nothing wrong with losing. What's wrong is when you have a method or your trading strategy isn't able to recoup those losses. I had a losing trade a couple of days ago, and then I made about 4 times more than the losses just yesterday in the market's action yesterday. So it's okay. You want to be able to have the confidence to know that you'll be able to make it back. And this example is a perfect example in LDOS. As we apply the buy-sell line, we see here initially that price was below the buy-sell line, so we should only be a seller, but then right here in the beginning of February, it was telling you to be a buyer. You see right here, well in advance, we knew that we should only be buying well in advance of this nice run. Okay, so let's add strategy number 4. And we had some really nice sell signals right here that would have captured and had a nice profit potential. But let's say we didn't take them. Let's say we took this one, okay? Well, obviously, this turned into a loss. Now, using one of our standard conservative stop losses, you most likely would have lost about 3 points or so, okay? This is the beauty of most of our strategies. They're very consistent. So you can see here, if you lost 3 or 4 points, you still have to stick with it because you would have had a chance to recoup those losses if you stayed in for this entire time. So you would have recouped that 3-point loss and possibly been able to capture upwards of 10 more points. This is what we mean by consistency, a 2-step forward, 1-step back process. How about this example in WBA? Obviously, it's been going much, much lower. Could we have taken advantage of the strong downward trend? Sure, we apply the buy-sell line and we see, look how strong the slope is to the downside. Even though we had a couple of closes above, the slope is extremely strong, so we would not have looked for any buy signals. We would have only looked for sells, and if we'd taken this very first one here, potentially 22 points coming into last week. How about HEI? All right, the same process. This has been going straight up. We apply the buy-sell line, and right around here, we had a really strong upward slope. So we just click on strategy 4, click on signal arrows, and look at all the buying opportunities you could have had. You could have taken advantage of. See, this is what I mean. There's really no reason to go to a chat room or wait for the earnings report or to wait for some so-called trading guru to tell you what to buy or sell. Once you take our courses, you'll know what defines a setup. So you won't really need these up and down arrows. You'll be able to spot on your own, and then you can decide for yourself if you want to take that setup or not. So you'll be in charge. We provide you with these arrows for educational purposes to check your work, just to give you that confidence that you really did identify a valid setup. But once you've been taking for my courses for a time, you'll, after, some traders, it takes only a couple of days, other a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months for some people. It's okay. It makes no difference. As long as ultimately you're able to identify on your own, you will be that much more ahead in terms of being a consistent trader. As we look at ROG, this was the stock we looked at earlier. Remember at the opening of the presentation, how could this simple 4-step process have helped us? First thing we do is apply the buy-sell line. All right, we've seen that even though this was going sideways, where everyone would say, well, Steve, that $10,000 class I took on the institutions and support and resistance, they said we were just basically in a range here. Well, not really, because first of all, you're in the buy zone. So you should be looking at this from a buyer's perspective. And secondly, even though you're in a range, where is the momentum? The momentum is strongly to the upside. So you should be not waiting for a breakout. You should be taking advantage of these signals as they're happening, because you could have ultimately taken advantage of a 55-point opportunity. Now, let's look at Tesla. We all know Tesla has been going down strongly in the last 5 months or so. As we apply the buy-sell line, we know since January, the buy-sell line, the fluid buy-sell line, has been really strongly trending downward. So you could have taken advantage of any one of these signals to the downside. Now, I realize Tesla is an expensive stock, but that doesn't mean you could have bought puts out of the money, because had you taken that very first setup in February, potentially you could have captured 130 points to the downside. Now, do we know how low something is going to go? Obviously not. We do not predict if something's going to be going to a certain level. We don't predict this. We just give you opportunity to take advantage of certain levels to get out. No one knows how high or how low something will go. We just know what the market wants to do in terms of its direction, and then we jump on board. It's as simple as that. Now, I know a lot of traders are more swing traders or even investors. So let's look at the same process as we apply to weekly charts, okay? ROKU, as we can see, we went up, had a strong decline here from March to April, and then had a very nice upward movement coming into this last week here. As we apply the buy-sell line, even though we had a very strong downward slope for a good month or so, a downward trading, I should say, the slope of the fluid buy-sell line continued to have a nice, strong upward direction. So regardless of the sell-off, you should be looking for buying opportunities, and one happened right here in the middle of April, towards the end of April. Could have taken advantage as a swing trader, and 30 potential points coming into last week of May. If we look at a weekly chart in Halliburton to the downside, the same perspective appears as a downward slope in the fluid buy-sell line. So that means that we're not going to try and take advantage of any buying opportunity. I know a lot of traders will say, well, Steve, this is so oversold here. I want to take advantage of this bounce. Well, remember, sure, there will be some nice bounces, but you're going to have to be very quick and get out quickly, because look what happened eventually in the next 2 or 3 months. It was making lower lows. Isn't it easier if you just swim with the current at your back? Because look at all these sell signals that were generated at the very top of those little bounces, okay? You think you could have taken advantage and made some nice profits to the downside? Potentially you could have captured 20 points. All right, now I know a lot of students always say, what about news, Steve? What if you get caught on the wrong side of the news? Well, I'm not going to guarantee that this works all the time well in the face of news, because we never know what the news is going to be. But it's been my experience trading this same strategy for over 4 decades, that because it's based off what the market wants to do, not what some guy is estimating what their earnings or what news is going to happen, but basically the market is telling you what it wants to do, that oftentimes the market knows in advance of a news event. Let me share with you what I mean. Here's an older example from last year in Buffalo Wild Wings. Yahoo Finance reported that the stock soared 25% on takeover talk, okay? There was takeover talk of BWLD. So obviously, when there's rumors about that, the stock will soar higher, as it did here. Here's when the takeover talk news came out. Now, the stock had already been going higher, but the news came out right here of a takeover. How could we have taken advantage of that? Well, we do the same process. We apply the buy-sell line, and even though price started to trade in the buyer zone up here, look at the slope. The slope was still going lower, so we're not going to do anything. Until this point, we had a nice gap up. This is probably where the street knew that there was going to be some takeovers taking place. But look at the market. The market knew that as well, because the slope started going higher as well. So there's no reason for you to say, well, Steve, I'm just a small trader. The big investors, the big institutions, they know everything before I do. Well, that's not necessarily true, because that news hadn't even come out yet. Remember, the news was generated right here. But as we have this nice, strong upward slope, as it's happening right there, look what happened. We had a buy setup in strategy number 4. You could have taken advantage of that, not being privy to being in any of the CEO meetings, or not knowing what's going on with the institutions that are interested in buying this. You could have known that as a small trader who maybe buys 1 or 2 contracts, or maybe buys 100 shares, and take advantage of a 33-point swing. So don't ever try to play that victim where you don't have enough information, you don't have enough knowledge, you don't have enough expertise to trade against the big money. That's silly. You can just as easily spot these with strategy number 4 many times. How about another market? Let's look at a different time frame and an entirely different market. Nothing changes because we're changing our markets. All right, this was just a couple of days ago in the E-mini. Remember when the market was falling out of bed, the big downward swings? This is a 15-minute time frame. Could we have taken advantage of this, selling the E-mini? Well, you apply the buy-sell line, and look at this. The entire time we had a very strong downward slope. You would have lost money trying to pick a bottom of that sell-off in the E-mini. Why would anyone even think of doing that? If you're in the red seller zone, all you want to do is look for sell setups. And look at all the setups you could have taken advantage of using strategy number 4. All right? Now, obviously, some were better than others. Had you taken these first 2 setups right here, this was on the 28th of May, well, potentially you could have captured 60 points to the downside coming into the end of May. That's $3,000 per contract. Once again, I'm not saying you would have made that. Some of our traders would have taken a couple of points and said thank you. There's nothing wrong with that either. As long as you're being consistent, that's all that matters. So remember, you're in charge of your trading. We're not telling you where to buy, where to sell, where to place your stop. We give you and furnish you all the different variables. It's up to you to decide. So one trader may have sold this at the market. Another trader may have put a limit in on the next bar somewhere up here. So another trader may have gotten in with more confirmation down here. Now, one trader may have exited down here. Another trader would have held out all the way for here. It's entirely up to you. We're providing you with sound fundamental education that has stood the test of time. How about the forex markets? Anyone trade the currency pairs? Well, nothing changes because we're going to a different market. This is a 1 hour chart of the euro yen on May 21st, just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Okay? How could this take an advantage of? We're kind of going sideways. We have a sharp sell-off for a week, and then we took off on an hourly chart. How would we know what to do? Well, we had the buy-sell line, and even though we had that action of going sideways to strongly down to strongly up, what was the slope of the buy-sell line? It was headed higher, okay? So this is telling us that there's some nice flow to the upside, some nice momentum. So we want to look for buy signals. We applied the strategy number 4 tab, and guess what? We had a buy signal right here at the bottom of that sell-off, where most traders were thinking on an hourly time frame, you've got to get out of the euro yen. Strategy 4 was telling you this is a buying opportunity. And in just the next day, you could have generated roughly about 80 pip potential. That's $800 roughly in just about 5 or 6 hours. Okay, so let's recap. All right, what did we teach you today? Step 1, using our platform, we made it simple. Choose the market. We supply you with an array of different markets: intraday, long-term, European markets, Asian markets, American stock market. We also provide you with Bitcoin, futures, currency pairs. There's tons of different markets to choose. Step number 2, once you've chosen your market, you click on the buy-sell line. This is going to tell you whether you're going to be a buyer or a seller. Remember, it paints the back of the screen. If you're in the buy zone, the back of the screen will be blue. In the seller zone, the back will be red. Now you look for signals. In the course, we teach you what to look for because strategy number 4 is based off of a pattern. To check your work, you would click on strategy number 4 tab and click the arrows. And after the fluid feature has been there for your advantage, you simply want to make sure you know where the arrows are. And that's strategy number 4, okay? It's that simple. This 4-step process will really make it simple for you, and you can only apply this process on the PTS Primo Charting Platform. I designed this with Pro Trader Strategies to make trading simple for all traders, regardless if you've been trading for like 40 years like me, or just a couple of days like some of our students around the world. Remember, I designed this and I use it myself. I've been trading for 40 years, so it doesn't matter if you have experience. It makes it simple. All right, so we have a great offer for all the attendees today, okay? We're going to offer you a great discount, 3 different ways actually to purchase strategy number 4. This is the strategy we talked about. It's our most consistent strategy based off a pattern recognition method. And you're going to get the complete rules and ways to trade it aggressively or conservatively. You're going to learn all the entries, upwards of 7 entries, 7 exits, and 7 stop placements. Remember, it can be applied to any market, any time frame, and any direction. And you'll get educational correspondence from yours truly. All right? Remember, even though the graphic here says stock strategy, it can be applied to all markets because roughly when I used it, when I first traded this 42 years ago, I only applied it to trading stocks, but it can be applied to anything. It does not matter, as I just showed you all the different examples. Now, there are going to be 3 ways to become a course member. We're going to give you 3 different options, and they're going to be, great and make it simple for you. The first option is if you just want to learn the rules. Well, we'll supply you for $6.95. We'll give you option 1, which includes all 15 educational videos, so you can study online course with complete entry and exit rules to strategy number 4. So basically, you'll just learn how to apply strategy number 4, and you'll learn everything on the online course. If you want to take it up a notch, you have option number 2. For $300 more, this comes with the add-on. So if, let's say, you're a member of TradeStation or MetaStock or MT4, Sierra Charts, Ninja Trader, we will supply you also with the add-on for the up and down arrows to check your work, okay? Now, that's for $300 more. Now, if you want to really take it to the next level, what I just shared with you, you want option number 3. For the same price of $9.95, If you don't want, or some students actually just beginning don't have a platform or don't have anything that they can actually have add-ons, and we'll supply you with 3 months free of our PTS Primo Charting Platform. So you can use this 4-step process. Remember, you can only use this process on our platform. Now, with option number 3, you also get a lot more different opportunity. Obviously, you're going to get trading strategy number 4. You're going to get all the enhanced buy-sell line features. That's the fluid, the background, that's the basic features of strategy number 4. Lots of different ways to use it. You're going to get a tool I designed with Pro Trader Strategies. This is our strength of trend tool. So many times you'll see a stock or a future or a currency pair go straight up. This tool will tell you if there's more room to the upside or if it's running out of steam. It's a great, great tool we designed. You can also use it for downward markets as well. You'll get our signal scanner. This is a great tool in and of itself. So let's say you're not able to be in front of the markets all the time. You will simply use our signal scanner on a nightly basis. You can click on the Strategy 4 tab the way I showed you earlier. Instead of clicking signal arrows, you'll click on the scanner. This window appears. As you can see, it's strategy number 4. You'll hit load symbols. Once again, we provide you with all the symbols, the different exchanges, European, intraday, currency pairs, stocks, NASDAQ, S&P. Once you pick your basket of stocks, whatever you're interested in, you'll see it appear in about 30 seconds. Then it's as simple as clicking on scan because it's automatically formatted for strategy number 4, so it knows to look for only strategy number 4 setups. And in about another 30 seconds, you'll see a series of green or red horizontal bars. This simply means the green bars mean that there's a buy signal in corresponding stock. The red ones mean there's a sell signal. And all you have to do is click on those stocks and you'll see all the signals, okay? That's how simple this scanner is. This whole process takes you about a minute or 2 to format every night. And then you can browse through all the different setups for the next day. All right, this is a great, great offer. We're giving you a great, great discount. 3 different ways to take advantage of this. But if you want to take option number 3, I think that's your best opportunity because you'll have 3 months of the PTS Primo Charting Platform, which all the displays were shown on today. Trust me, a year from today, you will have wished you became a member of the strategy number 4 course. Remember, you have 3 different options. You can take the $695, which is just the course alone, the online course. Go up to option number 2, $995, which includes the signals, the add-ons, which for your platform, you can have the up and down arrows, or take option number 3, which comes with 3 months of the PTS Primo Charting Platform, and that allows you to apply that 4-step process, which I shared with you today, okay? Remember, all 3 of these different options come with the final feature here, which is educational correspondence. You get my personal email, and if you ever have a question, if there's ever any questions about how to apply it or how to identify a setup, you can always email me, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Here's how to take advantage of this great deal. Contact my sister site, Pro Trader Strategies. I devised all of the courses and the platform with them to make trading simple. So they're in charge of all of the course discounts as well as the platform tech support. So they would be the ones to call if you have any questions concerning discounts or if you want to become a member of the course. Now you can call them directly if you have questions concerning those topics at 310-598-6677. That link you see at the very bottom is the informational page. You can also sign up there online if you'd like. But it's not a live link. We have posted a live link in your chat box on the GoToWebinar column on the far right. So just go to the chat category and you'll see a live link has been posted there. But if you have any trouble logging onto that link or you can't seem to locate it, if there's maybe it's bogged down because too many people are going there, don't worry, call the number. There's no obligation at all. Pro Trader Strategies would be happy to answer any questions or sign you up over the phone if you would rather do it that way, okay? Now, remember I promised that the last portion of today's presentation would be reserved for questions. So if you have any questions, simply go to your question and answer box, type in whatever it is you're interested in finding out, and I will be happy to answer them right now. See, there's a question. Someone's asking what platforms, if we take option number 2, what platforms can we use the up and down arrows on? Well, just about all of the major platforms. Sierra Charts, MT4, Metastock, Ninja Trader, TradeStation, all these platforms, the major platforms, you can use that. And so we'll provide you, and we also have tech support if you need help doing this, with the the add-on. So all you have to do is upload it onto your computer. But remember, this add-on is simply for the up and down arrows. It's not the fluid buy sell line. You only get that feature. It's only available on our new platform. So I would really suggest taking that offer, the 3 months of the platform, because you're going to get so many other advantages that are already on the platform. Okay, someone is asking, Steve, can you show us examples of that trending feature? Oh, you're talking about on the strength of trend feature. I believe that's what you're talking about. Yeah, unfortunately, this is a static presentation. I have just PowerPoint slides. I don't have access to real-time charts here, so I don't have any slides for that. But look for upcoming webinars where I will talk about that. That is a great feature, though, because it will tell you many times, it's not written in stone, but it gives you really good clues as to bottoms of markets or tops of markets. Now, it's not a trading strategy. It's not a system. It's simply one more tool to put in your trading plan to help you find out when maybe the market's running out of steam or has more strength left in it, okay? It worked very well on the recent sell-off in the markets, and it showed that we may be getting to an end, which, as you've seen in the last couple of days, there was a lot of rally in the market, and it kind of gave us a clue to the end of that market. So these are great things that only come on the platform, the buy-sell line features, as well as the strength of trend features, and also the scanner. If you only want to take advantage of the course, you will not be able to scan through all the different markets. You can do that on the platform as well, okay? Great questions. Remember, contact Pro Trader Strategies. I know a lot of students always say, gosh, Steve, you know, the webinar ended, and then about an hour later, I came up with a question. That's okay. You know, there's absolutely no obligation. You can call Pro Trader Strategies. They would be more than happy to answer any question with no obligation. Just call them whenever you want. But I would take advantage of this offer because this offer is only going to last for a short amount of time, a limited time, and then it will go up to the full price, which will be, I believe, closer to a couple of $1,000 with the platform included. Okay? Okay, so this brings us to the end of the presentation today. I want to thank you for attending. I hope you saw how simple trading can be when you have all the proper tools at your disposal, and trading is simple for the very first time. Remember, our goal is to make it simple so that you can be in charge of your own trading. In my opinion, after 4 decades of trading, this is the only way one can become consistent. So ask yourself, if you feel you have to rely on fundamental news, if you feel you have to rely on some $10,000 class you took about the support and resistance, or if you feel you have to watch some trading guru on TV, ask yourself, how well is this working for you? Sure, do you have some winners every once in a while, but then do you give it all back? If that's your process, then you're not really a consistent trader, because consistency should be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It should be a nice upward slope in your trading profit and loss category. If you want to become a consistent trader, we can help you. All you have to do is contact Pro Trader Strategies. We will be happy to take care of you and provide you with all this great fundamental information that has stood the test of time, okay? So thanks so much for attending. As we close here, I hope you learned something about trading, and I wish you the best of luck. As you take one last look at our disclaimer, please remember, watch this video, but don't sit on it for too long, because then the price will almost double in effect in a very short time, okay? Thank you so much for attending. I wish you the best of luck, but mostly I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the Strategy Number 4 course. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.